I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. And today, so you don't, you're just gonna provide today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, council. I'm going to call to order the November 13th Parker County Council meeting to order at 7. Right on the dot, as this mayor always is. So with that. Oh, so I'm not going to see the pictures, right?
They would have to turn their cameras on, that Nina and Roberta, they don't have them on, so.
All right, so when we get to issues and stuff, you guys are gonna have to tell me when a hand is up
Yep,
and
yep.
it's
You'll
that,
be able to see the hand raised up there too, but we will, yeah.
okay. For the record, I want to state that all members of the council are present, 5 physically, 2 are whatever that's called, zooming, 2 zooming. Roberta and Nina are zooming, the remainder of the council are physically present. Would you all please stand for a pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Said that it's great. Motion to approve the event.
I would like to request that item
And you beat me to it.
6J parking committee be moved to be after 6C. The update from the national park.
I also have an amendment to the agenda, please.
Roberta has her hand up, Mayor.
Go ahead, Roberta.
I'd like to move the amend the agenda to have items 7A and B be
Well-
relocated.
It's just digesting what Storm
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
back to you, okay? Storm.
I'm sorry.
6J parking committee to follow 6C. Which is the update from the national park.
Six J to follow 6C.
Yeah, who was that?
That was Roberta saying. that.
That's correct.
So,
All right, now go ahead, Roberta, you got the floor.
Do you need a motion or a second for that for Storm?
I can't hear.
Yes, if you need a motion and a second.
How about if we approve the agenda as altered altogether?
Yeah, are there any other suggestions for moving?
Yes, I would like to relocate items 7A and 7B to be relocated and heard after item 1.
I would request that that we not move it up that far, Roberta.
I assume there's people in the public that probably would like to go home early.
Well, we got a council also, so
Okay.
find some other place to put it than following number 1, Roberta.
Would you like it to follow number 3?
No, I'd like it. I would prefer it to follow number 5.
I'm okay with that.
All right. All right, any other council member before I get so confused that have anything else? All right,
I move to approve the agenda as altered with those 2 alterations.
I second.
okay, we have a motion to approve as amended from Chris. We have a second from George. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Nina,
Nina,
the 2 of you.
yes, they both have their hands up, yeah.
So, Anita, that passed 7-0. Zach, you keep straight on those 2. Public comment,
Yes. Oh, Christy May.
okay.
I'll go over to the podium.
Yeah, that'd be cool,
Please.
if you don't mind.
Okay. I got it. Okay. It's wobbling.
never felt the need to get up and speak before. I'm here specifically to address item 7A on the agenda, which referred to complaints on Putnam Street. And it actually said that complaints and actions and perhaps a closed executive session. And I have a big problem with that. The first thing I want to say is the owner of the property, Mr. Velez, nor I received any advance notice of this being an agenda item. Nothing at all. We actually even had no idea that there were any complaints. I don't know what they are, but I have an idea. Any complaints that are given should follow a chain of escalation. They should not go straight to town council in closed executive session. If there's a complaint about ordinances, it should go to the ordinance compliance officer. Otherwise, not knowing what the complaints are, it should go to the police department. And if it goes to the police department, it should not be by a 911 phone call. That's where complaints should start. They should only end up here if there was no resolution in the lower channels and it got escalated up to town council. And at that point, it still should not be a closed off executive session. People involved, whether they're complainees or people who have complaints lodged against them, whether it's us or anybody else in town, have the right to hear what's being discussed and be part of that discussion. I feel very strongly about that. What else did I want to say about that? I would like to actually have 7A removed from the agenda and have it follow the proper channels and start where it should have started in the first place. And I'm requesting that. I feel like elevating that to what it has done in executive session is not neighborly in any way. I feel like it's divisive and I feel like it's subversive. I'm a part of this town. Mr. Velez is a part of this town. I participate on councils, activities. I love my town. I only want it to be better and to be neighbors and friends. And I would like to be treated in kind. I really would. Sorry. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Christie, there is no executive session.
Okay, I saw some supporting documents. It was a possibility. So.
That was a draft. And that was not approved.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Christian.
Christian,
Hey,
Connor.
Nina, are you timing or do we need to do that?
I
It
can,
probably would be best if you could do it.
Zach's gonna. handle
Zach's
that.
gonna do that. Thank you.
He's gonna kick.
Okay, I'm Christian Ventriconis. I live in 900 Fillmore Street. My comments are regarding agenda item 6JI, or at least that's what it was. It's 6D, I guess, parking committee report. At the September 11th town council meeting, one of the town council members made a number of allegations regarding the parking committee, specifically naming me, which I would like to clarify. In the second year of my first term on the council, I was asked by Hardy Johnson to join him and Barbara Humes on the parking committee. It was not a role I sought. However, we worked well together as colleagues and made parking policy decisions informally by consensus and without official votes. 2, Hardy later resigned and Barbara stayed on the committee for a period of time after she no longer served in the town council. Patrick Turney was recruited by Hardy and agreed to serve with us on the committee. At various times, we tried to invite other residents to serve in the committee, but no one else was interested. 3, after Barbara resigned, Patrick and I continued to meet on an as-needed basis. We have always discussed parking policy issues with Chief Brown and other concerned parties in the town administration, such as the mayor, the administrative officer, and the police clerk. We have continued to make all decisions on a consensus basis, following precedents set by Hardy and Barbara. At no time have I ever dictated decisions to the parking committee. We have reported policy recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee and to the Town Council following precedent, and never have we precluded the council from questioning or vetoing our recommendations if they had concerns. 5, I also want to address the complete lack of understanding, regardless of how paid parking works. Parking fees on Washington Street are only levied between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily, and the fact is that on Monday through Thursday, and even on most Fridays, Washington Street parking spots are mostly empty, as they are through most of the slower winter season months. So any suggestion that a Washington Street parking space is worth $8,000 to $9,000 shows a complete lack of knowledge about how our paid parking works. 6, last, I'd like to note that while some town council members feel it's their responsibility to enforce parking regulations, the parking committee leaves enforcement to our police department.
30 seconds.
Nor Patrick nor I play a role in quote managing enforcement. In closing, I would suggest that a town council member who lacks the curiosity or possibly integrity to make a credible effort to get the facts straight regarding town parking policy should recuse himself from votes regarding the parking committee and the policies it recommends. And here's a transcript of the statements made on September 11th at that town council.
Thank you, Christian.
They'll have copies. These are for you guys.
I can give it to him.
Give it to the listen for the.
And also, I'd like that, my notes to be part of the record.
Okay. Thank you, Christian. Any other,
No.
okay, that closes the public comment. Mayor's announcements, just a quick update on US Route 340. As of a week ago, it was 65% complete.
Wow.
So I imagine this week there will be well over 70, maybe even approaching 80%. So that's good news for many of you that have to put up with that. And then we can get back to business going to Frederick or wherever we go in a couple of weeks. So I thought that was real good news. There's a bunch of clothing over there. If you want to leave it for the children's home or Catholic Charities or some other event, just leave your jacket here because I'll take it and we'll get rid of it for you. But if it belongs to you from last month, please pick it up and take it with you. There's kind of a couple umbrellas over there. The jacket doesn't fit me. I think it's raining. So anyway, I do have one serious note that I will relay to those of you that are Harpers Ferry residents in here. At the request of the mayor of Bolivar, and I completely concur with the mayor's concern. And that is any resident from Harpers Ferry who is placing notices, et cetera, on utility poles in the town of Bolivar. The town mayor does not appreciate that and would request that cease and desist. So if anybody's in here putting up lost dogs or lost cats or whatever, put it on your front door or something. Anyway. Nina, let me turn the floor over to you for recorders' comments and updates. Nina?
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I apologize for not being able to attend in person today. I'm under the weather and didn't want to risk making everyone sick. So decided to attend from across the street. I wanted to update everyone on the 3-town signage project. I know that's come up quite a few times and kind of give an overview of what the project is and kind of clear up some misconceptions around the project. I had the pleasure this month of meeting with a Harpers Ferry representative on the project, as well as Annette Bates from the JCVB to get kind of a little bit more insight as to what the project is, how it may impact Harpers Ferry, and what the next steps are. To start with clarifying some misconceptions, the project is not using town funds at all. It's being paid for with funding through the JCVB. In the future, if we decide to purchase any of the signage that's created, then obviously that would require a larger discussion regarding funding and planning. However, the 3-town signage project is a design project to create an optional standard for wayfinding signs in the areas of Jefferson County that fall under the JCVB that want to participate in the project. The reason that Ranson is not participating in the project is because they have their own CVB and therefore don't qualify for our project. And Charlestown are not participating because they actually have their own wayfinding project that they started several years ago and want to focus on using the designs that came out of that. So there was the news article that did come out regarding the project. It was not a press release, or an announcement of any sort from the JCVB. It was actually, based on a presentation regarding the project progress that was given to the Shepherdstown Town Council, and an article was written based on that. The purpose of the project is to create a standard for wayfinding signage in Jefferson County, a standard color scheme, font, sign shape, and such. Not to implement those signs, but just create a design which we can decide to adopt or not. So for example, if you saw a sign with a certain color or design style, you know it's pointing it towards a place of significance for tourism. Sort of like signs that could point to Lower Town or towards Bolivar in the Women's Park to kind of help people find where they are within town. The JCVB, when deciding to implement these projects, decided to work with the Mills Group out of Wheeling. They're actually an architectural and design group that specialize in historical preservation and design. They're working actually on the renovations of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy headquarters, so they're familiar with the historical standards and needs of our town. When the signs are ready and options are ready, they'll be presented for consideration for purchasing. We can purchase some of the signs, none of them. Whatever we deem is appropriate and the best use of the town. Some of those signs are directional, some are informational, some are welcome signs. The JCVB is also working with multiple companies to acquire quotes for the signage, so we can find an option that works best for us within our budget if we decide to move forward. In the new year, the JCVB will be ready to present to Harpers Ferry some of their designs. So they will be reaching out to us after the new year about setting up a time where we can review some of that. I see that Roberta raised her hand, so maybe she wants to comment on that before I move on to the next point.
No, go ahead and finish your presentation. I'll speak after you finish. Thank you, Nina.
Okay, the next part was just on the West Virginia First Foundation, the opioid settlement. I received notice last Wednesday that the foundation met for the first time last Monday, and they've elected officers. The chair is Matt Harvey, the vice chair is Dr. Matt Christensen. The secretary is Dora Stutler, and the treasurer is Jeff Sandy. The distribution of funds will be made over the next several years. However, that timeline has not been provided at this time. The email I received stated that they have a lot of work to do to get started, but keep everyone informed on the progress, and I'll keep relaying any messages I receive during council meetings as they sort of come through. And that's all I have for my updates.
Thank you, Nina. Any questions?
Roberta has her hand up. Roberta has her hand up.
Roberta, what can I do for you?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to comment on Nina's presentation regarding her item number 1, the 3-town signage. I did
Okay.
request.
Roberta, I don't want to get into a debate about the merits of the project or anything like that. I mean, if you've got a general question, I'll entertain that. But it's not a specific discussion action agenda item. But go ahead, Nina. Nina, go ahead, Roberta.
Yes, one, my main reason is, why is the recorder doing a summation presentation versus the committee coming out? And why isn't the committee that we've asked to be present and show who they are and come and give us a presentation, why are they not doing this?
Well, I asked the recorder to do that. Roberta?
Can I clarify? There is no committee. It was just a group of volunteers that were asked if they wanted to work with a private organization that's trying to come up with some designs. So when that group, the design group that those volunteers are kind of assisting with, are ready to present, then they're going to come forward. But it's right now premature. They don't have the designs ready for Harpers Ferry. Shepherdstown was who they were working with first. Harpers Ferry will come in the new year.
Okay, but it's my understanding that this governing body has not elected to even participate in this signage presentation, this signage project for the community to be involved, for the JCC, JVC, whatever they are, to be involved, and for people who are volunteering in our town to be involved. I mean, if the town governing body hasn't directed anybody to say you have the authority to speak on our behalf, then I think they're out of order.
I believe that the mayor authorized the recorder to do that, and there is no committee.
Roberta, just for your information, what Nina just briefed on I received that same request from the director of the Jefferson County Convention and Visitor Bureau a little over a year ago. And I went out and there were 4 or 5 people that were interested in it. I contacted Annette, advised her, and then I briefed the town council at a meeting. Any other questions? Roberta?
I believe that's the same process that Bolivar used.
Yeah.
With our fire administration.
Okay.
Sir,
And I just putting it on the record, this committee, if they exist, they're out of order, out of
Okay.
compliance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. George?
I believe I don't entirely follow Roberta's line of reasoning here. But I believe what she's referring to is the fact that, as you stated, you sent these people over to this group. And that created a relationship with the governing body of Harper's Ferry. Now, this sounds like a fine point, but I believe in the strictest application of the rules, there's an openness requirement under West Virginia law for any meetings, activities, reports, etc. And I think that good government would have those individuals report, and I believe that's the core of what Roberta's saying, and I'd agree with it. Good government is to have those folks report officially and openly to the public. Okay, so in the future, like you said, this is not a debate over the merits of this matter, but in the future, it would really be, since you sent these folks, it'd really be good if they would issue a report of their activities on behalf of the mayor of this town.
Okay.
Thank you.
George. Thank you. Okay, you had another comment on the other item, Roberta?
No, sir.
Your
Okay,
hand is up.
thank you, Roberta. Where am I now? All right, we have a group, Marie Russo, who is the Clean Water Campaign Coordinator for the state of West Virginia. I did that right. Marie, would you explain to us why you're here? Introduce the people that you brought, and thanks to Chris for setting this up. Marie?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Hi. My name is Maria Russo, and as the mayor stated, I'm the Clean Water Campaign Coordinator. I know it's a mouthful with West Virginia Rivers Coalition. So we're a statewide nonprofit that does a lot of work around political advocacy to try to make sure that we can have the cleanest waters possible in our state. And I'm here tonight because Harper's Ferry recently received an award from us because they have been designated a source water protection community. So this is an award that West Virginia Rivers gives out to communities, and these are actually our first 2 that we've ever given to communities. So Harper's Ferry and the town of Marlinton are the first 2 communities in West Virginia to receive this award from West Virginia Rivers. So a water utility earns this designation as a source water community if they have taken a really active role in trying to protect the waters that serve as the drinking water source for any given town. And to receive this designation, a water utility must partner with the community on source water protection projects and issue a proclamation celebrating Drinking Water Week during the first week of May, all of which Harper's Ferry did. So I want to point out a couple of our community partners who are in the room as well. So we have, if you can just maybe wave while I point you out, but we have Monica White from the Source Water Protection Program with West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources. We have Kristen Alexander and Laurel Schwartz from Potomac Valley Audubon Society. We have Chris Craig, who's been active with the Eastern Panhandle Sierra Club. I hope I'm getting all of these correct. And then we also have 2 individuals, Steve Parody and Chris Steyer, who have been very active from Harper's Ferry Waterworks. So these are just a few of the members. Did I miss anybody in the room? I know Michael Rock came to our last meeting as well as a participant. And so I wanted to just recognize everyone in the room because you can really tell that it's a group of state agencies, nonprofit organizations, water utilities, and volunteer groups that have come together to work on these projects and really make sure that the drinking water source of Harper's Ferry is protected. So just a quick note, a couple of the activities that were put on were some watershed education for youth. We've done tree plantings. We did an Earth Day event at Sam Michaels Park. And all of this was to raise awareness to the Elks Run as the community's drinking water supply. And as Steve Parody, Mayor Bolivar mentioned in our last meeting, he said this is a critical time for awareness to be brought to this, because as we know, we had some drought situations this summer that reduced our water quantity in the area, and just a lot of factors contributing to this being so necessary to protect. So we really thank Harpers Ferry for being so proactive in educating the public about the important role that they can play in protecting this drinking water source. And Chris Craig wanted me to mention that if anyone in the room would like to join future efforts with our Safe Water Harpers Ferry program and our Elks Run Watershed group, they meet about once a month right now and put on different projects such as the ones I've mentioned. So feel free to get in touch with me. I have some cards and we'd love to have you in the future to join our meetings. And again, we really hope to use Harpers Ferry as an example around the state to encourage more water utilities to be taking on these actions and to continue to protect the drinking water that we all need. So thank you to you all, and thank you so much for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't have to sneak out. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, let's turn to the approval of minutes. Mia, I'm gonna turn this over to you to walk us through.
Oh, Roberta just raised her hand, so she might have a comment.
I'll listen to your initial comment, but I'd like to make a motion.
I mean, my comment is just that I have submitted regular meeting minutes for July 10th, August 14th, September 11th, and October 9th. And then also the special meeting minutes for July 24th, 25th, August 2nd, and October 30th for approval.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to handle the approval of each of the meeting minutes individually by date.
Well, we're gonna do that anyway. Go ahead, Mia.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, should make a motion to approve the July 10th, 2023 meeting minutes.
So we have a motion to approve July 10 by Storm. We have a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Nina, if I could, I had one correction on that set.
Yeah.
On 4C1B, there was a vote count 0-0. I think that was just a typo. I think it should have been 6-0.
Oh, okay, I will check that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion that we reserve the right to amend the meeting minutes at the next town council meeting if upon our final review, since these just came out again today. And I haven't had a chance to go back and double check them again.
I'd like to second that amendment.
Roberta, state your motion again, please.
Yes, sir. I'd like to amend the motion to add that we reserve the right to amend the meeting minutes if there's additional corrections found after tonight at the next town council meeting.
I think that motion's out of order because that's something you can do anyway with the 2/3 vote.
Yeah. Okay, and discussion on that, we have a motion on the floor, we have a second, George. Any discussion on a motion? George, go ahead, George.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And to the point, a 2/3 vote is a bit of a burden. I think, for this set of minutes and for a few others, this is appropriate because, we have just received these 6 hours ago, this version.
That's not.
Sir, you're out of order, please. This came through in an email from, Nina, this final version. 6 hours ago. To all of us. And, I've looked, but I haven't looked extensively. I think Roberta's point's taken. I really applaud the fact that we've gotten this far and we're getting a lot of it behind us. And I really think these may go through and without further change. But it's a matter of diligence. I think it's and prudence. It's a good idea to take up Roberta's suggestion on for July.
Thank you, George. Any other discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand.
I'm confused on what we're voting. Are we voting on the
The
approval
amendment first,
with the correction or Roberta's?
amendment. I'm gonna vote on that first. Okay, and George seconded that. We had the discussion. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. We have opposed, raise your hand.
Nina has one hand.
And we have one abstaining. So we have 2 opposed. 4 in favor. And 1 abstaining.
That's
Yeah,
it,
that's-
backwards.
Pardon me?
It was 2 in favor,
I'm
4
sorry, I knew
opposed.
that. I was just checking to see if the audience. 4 in favor.
Good job.
2 opposed, 1 abstaining.
No. Now
The
you
amendment for the motion.
vote, saying.
Can I say it again?
Sorry, who abstained?
Four
from-
opposed.
One abstain.
As opposed to the amendment.
The amendment.
The amendment failed. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the main motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, raise your hand. Opposed? 1, 2. Nina, did you vote for or against?
Voting for, I couldn't get my hand up fast enough.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know
Okay.
what I'm looking at.
So that was.
So the main motion passed 5-2. Okay, Nina?
Okay, the next one is August 14th, 2023.
Okay, is there a motion to approve August 14th, 2023?
Roberta has her hand up.
Roberta?
I would like to approve, again, I commend the meeting minutes being done, and I know it was a stack of meeting minutes, and Nina's done a fabulous job. I'd like to approve the meeting minutes for, what is the date? August 14th, 2024, with the reserve to allow for meeting minutes to be amended at the next town council meeting, because we have just received these today, and I personally have not had a chance to review them.
Hey, the chair requested a motion to approve the minutes that are before us. What the chair requested. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes before us for August 14th?
Point of order, the motion is on the floor. I move to amend it to strike the second phrase. About reserving the right to hasn't been seconded. Oh, it's not.
I second the motion.
All right, I'm ruling on a point of order, point taken.
I would like to amend the motion. To leave only the first clause that states the motion to approve the minutes of August 14th.
Is there a second on the amended motion? Amended motion fails for lack of a second. So we go back to the main motion, which is restate the main motion, Roberta.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to approve the meeting minutes for August 14th, 2023, with the reserve to amend the meeting minutes upon final review at the next regular town council meeting.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the main motion that you just heard from Roberta? All those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand.
Roberta,
Opposed?
Roberta, are you
My
voting for?
hand's raised.
Nina,
I'm
how-
for the motion. I'm for the motion.
And so.
And
Roberta-
Oh, go ahead.
Roberta is for the motion, and Nina, are you against the motion or for the motion?
Against the motion.
I am against the motion. That's 2. Chris, 3. Storm, how did you vote? Against?
Against the motion.
Against the motion, that's 4. Main motion fails.
I move to approve the minutes of August 14th, 2023 as presented.
Do I have a second on the
I
motion
second.
to approve August? What's the date?
14th.
14th. We have a second from George. Discussion on a motion to approve. Chris,
This is the one set I have some serious reservations about. I made 3 motions at the beginning of that meeting, on, the agenda to strike items. They were all voted down, but I believe those, motions need to be shown in the minutes. So I am not ready to, vote to approve these minutes.
Nina, you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, so that was where I spoke with the Ethics Commission about this morning and sort of the nuance regarding the meeting minutes, but I am willing to table this one, Chris, if you and I want to discuss sort of how you want that to be outlined, because I understand that that was important for you, that that was captured in the meeting minutes.
I would like to add some comments as well.
Roberta also has her hand up.
She's still talking.
Nina is not talking, but Roberta has her hand up as
Okay,
well.
I'm gonna recognize George first, and then Roberta. Go ahead, George.
Just very briefly, Chris, actually it was for a request for agenda change. Because I remember the mayor said, oh, you're shooting for 0. The 0 for 4. So just FYI.
Okay, Roberta.
Yes, I think this was one of our toughest meetings, and I need to go back and really review that video and against the meeting minutes, and have not had a chance to do that because I was concentrating on the other meeting minutes. So I would like this one to be postponed as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Some of you parliamentarians, what does the chair do?
I think at this point, we would vote it, we can vote it down.
Vote it down.
We agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion to approve,
August 14th.
August 14th, raise your hand. Opposed?
I'm not sure what we're voting on, sir.
We're voting to postpone these minutes.
No, we're voting
Okay.
to approve.
No,
No.
well, we're voting, oh, yes, so
So
if you're voting for it, you're voting to approve. If you vote against the
You're voting
motion,
to-
we're postponing.
I would like the motion to be stated again, please.
The motion is to approve August 14th. We just took a vote, and by my count, it looked like 6 disapproved the motion to approve.
I would disapprove the motion to approve the meeting minutes. Yes.
Okay, so
We all agree.
0.
All right,
0.
all right, let's go. All right, we need to move on. We gotta go quickly here. I don't want to spend.
All right, we have September 11th, 2023.
I move to approve the minutes of September 11, 2023 as presented.
Do I have a second on the motion? We have a second from Chris to approve September 11 discussion on the motion. Zach.
One quick thing, I noticed that item 7C on those minutes. My vote was recorded yes, when I actually voted no. I think that was an error of I was attending remotely, so it's not on Nina for missing that. It was just a correction I wanted to make.
Okay, I'll make sure to correct that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
And
Roberta.
again, yes, what is the policy if if we are just now getting these meeting minutes to review, and we haven't had a substantial time to review them, what is the policy, if we could have it stated clearly, that we have the right to come back and amend these meeting minutes at a future meeting, so that if we catch anything incorrect again, or misquoted, or not stated correctly, can we have the opportunity, and how does that work, to correct the meeting minutes?
We're going through each one, Roberta, just like we did with the last one where we decided the decision on the last one. We're gonna do this one at a time.
That's not the question.
That's not what I'm asking, sir.
All right, I'm not sure I know what you're asking then.
What is the policy for amending, if this meeting minute was approved tonight, what is the policy for a town council member to come back and amend the meeting minutes because of something caught or missed, and the town council member presents a change to the meeting minutes at a future town council meeting?
I do not have an answer for that.
Storm is flipping through
Nor
Robert's.
would I probably be,
Well, in general, minutes can be amended. It would need to be placed on the agenda to amend the specific minutes. What I'm looking up now is if it can be amended by a simple majority, or if it requires a 2/3. I believe it's 2/3 because it's against regular order to change minutes that have been approved by the body.
thank you, Storm.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to amend this motion to allow for the right to review the meeting minutes at a future town council meeting, just in case we do not get a majority vote.
Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll
A
second
second
that.
from George. Discussion on a motion to amend for a future date. Is that what your motion is, Roberta?
Basically, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on a motion to amend at a future date?
Is that necessary? Because if you feel that a future change is needed, then you would need to bring it, to put it on the agenda.
That's a good point.
I just don't see the issue, Roberta. It can be
I see
brought up-
the issue, Chris, is I may not get a 2/3 or majority vote, and then we have a set of meeting minutes that are sitting out there incorrect.
Well, we're gonna have to vote anyway when you do bring it forward.
Understand? But you may not vote on the corrected meeting minutes as I present them, or as I've asked the recorder to revise them. And so we may have an issue come that meeting where you don't want to vote on the updated meeting minutes, even though by policy we have a situation where we need to correct something that's blatantly incorrect.
All right, any other discussion? All right, let me see if I can figure out where we're at.
Voting on the amendment.
We're gonna vote on the amendment. Roberta's amendment is that at a future meeting, any member of the council could bring up a questionable vote on previously submitted minutes and say, wait a minute, I'd like to change number 6.7 because it did not accurately reflect such and such. Is that a fair statement? Is that what we're voting on in the amendment, Storm?
Yes, so I have found the relevant section of Robert's Rules of Order.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
If the existence of an error or material omission in the minutes becomes reasonably established after their approval, even many years later, the minutes can then be corrected by means of the motion to amend something previously adopted, which requires a 2/3 vote or a majority vote with notice, or the vote of a majority of the entire membership, or unanimous consent. In such a case, the content of the original minutes must not be altered, although it may be advisable for the secretary to make a marginal notation indicating the corrected text or referring to the minutes of the meeting at which the correction was adopted. The minutes of the latter meeting must include the full text of the motion to amend something previously adopted, which necessarily includes all information required to construct an accurate record of the actions taken at the earlier meeting.
As I understand what Storm just read means, that if the amended motion fails, we go back to the main motion to approve September 11th. At any future date, any member of this council has the right to bring up an editorial change or an amendment. That's my interpretation of Storm just read.
Yeah, and there are multiple ways.
Multiple ways it can be
It does
done.
not need to be 2/3.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the amendment?
Thank you, Storm. I appreciate that clarification.
All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. Opposed, raise your hand.
Nina.
Roberta, are you abstaining?
No, I voted yes for the
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
amendment.
so we have another history in the making, 7-0.
And thank you,
No,
Mr.
7-1.
No.
Six-
Wait
6-1.
a minute, wait a minute. It's 6-1. Roberta voted for the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody else votes against the
Okay.
amendment.
I'm sorry, Roberta.
It's okay. We'll get this right.
Sorry. Roberta. Nina, October 9.
Wait,
No,
we actually voted
they
for
will
it.
have
Yeah,
to-
I'm sorry, you're right, to approval. Now let's go back to the main motion to approve the minutes for September 11th.
Roberta,
And
can
then
you
it's
take your
with
hand?
text.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's exactly right, with the
Right, correct. Yeah, that's correct.
all those in favor of the main motion with the correction.
Nina, are you in favor of this motion or against the motion? Nina's
In
hand.
favor.
Opposed,
Okay. Okay, Roberta's hand is up for it. Okay, so 6-1.
Gee, okay,
6-1.
all right, thank you. All right, now Nina, go to October 9.
Correct. Yeah, the next ones are the regular meeting minutes for October 9th.
I move to approve as presented.
Second on the motion to approve.
Second. I wish to amend.
We recognize Storm as seconding the motion.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. George,
I wish to postpone completely the approval of the minutes for October 9th until our December meeting.
The October meeting minutes have not changed or been altered at all since I added them to the file about 2 weeks ago. They have remained exactly the same. There have been no updates to those meeting minutes, except for some bolding to make the formatting a little bit better.
okay.
We're not in discussion yet.
No. Is there a second to the motion to amend to move October 9 to the December meeting?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion on the motion. George,
I looked at this meeting minutes that I received for the first time six hours ago. And call it vanity, but I looked at my motion at the previous meeting. And it's the first thing I looked at and I found a major error. So I'm going to suppose that just running the odds on this, that there are errors in there and that this bears closer examination. And that this one being, you know, the other months we've had, Roberta has put in pages of notes about September, several annotations, a dozen annotations on July. This one has had the least scrutiny, I believe. And just to make my point here, the October meeting issue, and Nina, I just want to put this down for correction because I know eventually this was fine work here, but I didn't get a chance to look through all of it. And odds are there's other issues. My issue is with 7, 1, A, and B. I made a motion about the Carbolite, and no offense, credit to Storm. And it was mine. Following that 7.1b, there was a motion about doing the finance committee providing us with estimate. That also, if you'll notice, is credit to Storm. So I'm just saying, playing the odds here, probably a few other errors. And I think it would be not so hard to give us another 30 days look at it.
thank you, George. Any other discussion? Roberta,
Yes, I haven't had a chance to look at these very thoroughly either, since they're just issued. And spending time on the more detailed ones, so I would like to postpone this, and that's why. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment to postpone until December?
Yes, I want to know exactly how much time I have to provide for feedback. Because I provided these meeting minutes over 2 weeks ago and received no feedback whatsoever. What is the expectation for timing for feedback that I'm supposed to be receiving? I had requested by last Tuesday to receive feedback so that I could make appropriate adjustments. And I did
And-
not receive any feedback on these meeting minutes.
On this particular meeting minute from me, Nina, you've received just a generic cursory review on it as far as you know, general title block, time of the meeting, adjournment of the meeting time. I did a cursory review of all the meeting minutes, and I sent you a spreadsheet on that by your deadline of 11/7, and I spent an enormous amount of time listening to the videos for 7/10, which was our very first meeting. And I sent you detailed information and feedback on that. And also I spent an enormous time on 9/11.
Correct.
Again, this is my part-time job, and I spent till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning listening to those videos. They're horrible videos. The sound is awful, and it's very difficult. I know you yourself must have a hard time figuring out what everybody is saying. So I commend you for getting this done. This was a stack of meeting minutes to get done, and we tried to help you to get it done also. And I gave you feedback on what I got done, but I didn't get everything done.
Correct, Roberta. And I reviewed every single line item on the feedback that you received. And then I compared the meeting minutes again to the recordings because you were not the only person that set feedback. So
Okay.
I responded to everyone's feedback, tried to create sort of a middle ground where everyone's feedback was being represented, compared that again to the recordings on YouTube to create these drafts. If there are further edits that need to be made done, I need advance notice. And that's why I submitted the October meeting minutes 2 weeks ago for feedback, and I received none. I'm not sure what more I can do to receive feedback other than submitting them to the file, sending a notification out to everyone. At this point, I'm not sure what I should do.
I think it'll get easier because we had so many meeting minutes and we had to wait for the recordings. I think we were all having technical difficulties, and I get that, and I know what you've been through. We're trying to be
All right, let's
gracious.
move on.
Okay.
Storm, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so thank you, Nina. I was one of the people that provided feedback and appreciate the task of incorporating the feedback. I feel the time that has been given us to provide feedback has been sufficient. If there are material errors, they can be addressed at a future meeting, as has been covered from the reading from Robert's rules.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amendment to postpone October 9 to the December meeting, raise your hand.
Roberta.
2 opposed. All those,
There's 2 in favor.
I'm sorry, 2 for the amendment. All those opposed to the amendment, raise your hand. 5 opposed, 2 support. We go to the main motion. Main motion is to approve October 9. All those in favor, excuse me, have I been in discussion yet?
Yes.
Have I? Okay.
You had
All
a
those in favor of the motion?
Point of discussion, sir.
I think I've been through discussion. Have I not been through discussion on the
You
main
may have
motion?
had an amendment.
We do have an amendment. Some points were raised during the amendment that might need.
All right, let me open up the discussion on the main amendment real quick, George.
I'll make this very brief. In that case, Nina, I would ask that we approve this with changes to 7(1)A and B to change the motion made from D. Costanza to Owens.
Yes, I will review that and make those adjustments.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand.
Nina.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes 6-1. All right, July 24th. 24th.
Roberta, is your hand still up or are you?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Motion to approve July 24th.
So moved.
A second on the motion to approve
Second.
July 24th. Second from George, discussion on the motion. Chris.
One item, Nina, I believe that vote for the budget revision required a what's the word?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call.
Roll call vote, and I think that should be reflected in the minutes. It would be simple to do because it was unanimous.
Okay, yeah, I can make that adjustment.
You missed that out, and that would be my only correction.
Thanks, Chris. Any other discussion on July 24th? All those in favor of approving July 24, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, that motion passes 7-0. July 25.
Move to approve as presented.
I have a motion to approve by Storm. Do I have a second on the motion to approve?
I'll second it.
Chris. Do I have discussion on the motion to approve for July 25? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve July 25, raise your hand. 7-0. Thank you. August 2, motion to approve.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Roberta, second on the motion. Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion to approve. All of, go ahead, Roberta.
No, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
You're ahead of the.
I'm hand happy.
It's a wonderful thing. All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. Thank you, 7-0. October 30th.
I move to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Chris. We have a second from George. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion. Roberta opposed.
I'm sorry, I lost connection. I needed to, if we have an opportunity to make changes to that one, I wasn't clear on getting that one done either, so sorry.
You got it.
Okay.
Just like anything. Okay, let's go to the minutes for January 3rd. Just wanted to see if you guys are gonna move it.
All right, so Roberta, do you need to still have your hand up, Roberta?
All right, approval of minutes. Treasurer's reports.
Roberta, okay.
5A, review and approval of financial report September 2023.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
The financial reports.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The financial reports you have this evening are from September 2023. That's 1 quarter of our fiscal year. In the general fund, our budgeted numbers are representing Division 1 for fiscal 24. The carry forward balance for this month is $1,359,000, making our targeted operating income $1,076,000. Income as of September 30 at $305,000 represents about 28% for the year, and operating expenses are at 25%. For waterworks, the overall revenue received in September is 24.9%, and water receipts specifically are at 27%. Operating income is at 25%. Plant chemicals, as you are aware, have been climbing faster than anticipated with the extra chemicals needed for Potomac River, so I just want to keep that in front of your mind, and we'll be addressing that in tech.
I move to approve the September 2023 financial reports as submitted.
Second on the motion, we have a second from George on the motion to approve the September 2023 financial reports. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to approve September 2023 finance, raise your hand. Motion opposed. George, did you vote?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries Nina 7-0.
And then your checks for approval are You're looking to just read them, but you have your list ready as well. Any questions on any of that?
I move to approve the checks over the threshold as presented.
Discussion on a motion to approve over threshold. I'm sorry, the second on the
Second.
motion. We have a second from Storm. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0, I think.
6-1.
6-1. Okay, I saw her hand up at the same time. Okay. All right. Thanks, Debbie. And now we move to 7A. Is that correct? Okay. Is there somebody from the parking committee in here that's going to make the report?
That's not,
Oh, this is,
That's okay.
it's the Pleasant Street, Pleasant Street.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I move to table this item to a future meeting.
We have a second on the motion to table the item for a future meeting. Okay, a
I
second.
think the word is postpone, not table.
Postpone. I accept that.
I do too.
Discussion on the motion to postpone for a future meeting, George?
Yes, I agree with the decision to postpone. There have been issues either been made aware of that require an exact legal opinion. So I would like to amend this to make we'll postpone this to a future meeting. And that it include, excuse me, I'm speaking appropriately, not a word. I wish to make an amendment on this.
Okay, your amended motion is?
My amended motion is that we include in this meeting the town attorney and have the option for executive session as need arises.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a
I second that.
to amend?
Roberta seconded.
We have a second from Roberta. Discussion on the motion. Okay, the chair will discuss. The presence of an attorney is not a preamble to go into executive session. Number one. Number two, I have read all the exemptions to the Open Meetings Act. And as I understand the issue, George, none of these apply to executive session. Number three, there is a process that this town uses when a complaint is made about the existence or non-existence of an ordinance covering a particular action. For example, we get complaints all the time about certain things. For example, I'll give you one. We get complaints from the business sector of improper sign. So the process is the ordinance compliance officer, in conjunction with the administrative officer, then go into the ordinance books and determine if in fact there is a violation of our current ordinances. After we determine that there is or there is not, then the ordinance officer then takes appropriate action. The same thing would occur at the situation on anything. I'm not going to turn over the town's ordinance book, which is about 4 inches thick, to the town attorney and have him or her go through our ordinance to see if there is a violation. That's why we have paid staff to do the preliminary work. Once a decision is, or a recommendation is made, then yes, George, we can then take that to the attorney and say, this is the roadmap that we're going to follow on this particular item. Do you concur with that? I'm not going to turn over our ordinance book to our town attorney and have them go through 600 pages of material to find out if there's a material difference. So that's my point of discussion. Zach, did you have a point of discussion? Somebody else? Chris?
I do.
George?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. I think actually the resident said it very well in the public comments. I think that complaints about one of our neighbors needs to start, if there is a serious concern, to start with talking to the police chief, with talking to the OCO about it and discuss it there. We are not a judicial body. This is not the Salem witch trials, and things keep coming up. As another public comment stated pretty well before the meeting. We need to discuss concerns in the appropriate setting, and the appropriate setting, at least at the first move, is not the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, George? And then
Yes.
Roberta.
To your points, Mr. Mayor, I am not proposing an executive session. I'm proposing leaving the door open for one. To the point of reviewing all of this and finding no content that merits the attorney. I believe that paid staff has already found a likelihood that we are going to wind up in territory where we need legal advice. And in terms of executive session, the possibility of it, when we're receiving such legal advice, we're talking about material, we're talking about content that's covered by attorney-client privilege. And this town has demonstrated its need to have such comments made in executive session. So I like the idea. Prior to you saying anything, Greg, there was no mention of a possible speaking to the attorney. I like the idea of leaving that as a possibility, and that's the soul and substance of what I'm looking at here. I just don't want to dismiss the matter. So I will take what you had to say in good faith here, that when we postponing this, as Greg has proposed, if we wind up in that territory where we need legal advice, we'll do so. And so I withdraw my my amendment.
Roberta, thank you, George.
George, I don't think you should withdraw your amendment. I think we should still have your amendment on the table to vote on. And I don't think it's the intent of anybody on this town council to have the town attorney go through our entire code book. I think he probably knows it pretty well, probably better than any of us. We would certainly bring forward the appropriate information that we would need the town attorney's consultation on. And this may turn into a situation where we might need to.
Roberta,
you're failing. Speak up.
your voice is fading in and out. Are you turning your face away from the phone or something? That might be what's going on.
No, I'm sitting
Okay.
right.
Well, it's fading in and out. Yeah.
Anyway, so I believe that, George, you should leave your amendment on the floor. We do need the advisement of the town council attorney when we present the issues that we may have to make a difficult decision upon. And I think the town attorney would need to be consulted once we narrow down the parameters of our investigation. And I do believe, according to the West Virginia Code under executive session, if we are going to have an official investigation, we can go into executive session.
George, I believe you withdrew your amendment. Is that correct?
I did, and Roberta, thank you. I share your sentiments.
Okay.
I'm satisfied that this body, when the conditions you describe arise, will reach for those tools. That's why I withdrew my amendment.
Okay. What is the original motion?
To postpone.
That was it. Storm, was that your original motion?
Yes.
Okay, and then we had a second on that. Any further discussion to postpone this agenda item for a future?
Roberta, can you take your hand down, please?
Roberta? Do you have discussion, Roberta?
No,
Oh, sorry, I had it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, we're voting on the main motion. All those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand. 7-0. Again, after this is over, I just want to reiterate for the record again, we're not going to approach whatever the issue is in any other fashion that we don't approach any other issue in this town, and how we go. Starting at our ordinance, our code officer, and then if it goes different directions, that's the way it goes. All right, now. Starring Chief Brown.
I thought you were doing the other one. Seven B.
7B? Not 7B?
What we doing?
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Chief.
It's what we were talking about.
Point of clarification, I
Yeah.
think that there was a motion to move 7A and
And
7B.
B, right,
Um,
yes, there was, yeah.
Apologies.
I'm sorry, Sharon.
Oh, that's okay. It wasn't my motion to move it up. I'd be happy to do it at the end.
Okay, you want to wait at the end?
It was Roberta's motion to move it up. Roberta, do you intend to move both of items under 7 to this moment?
I'll leave it up to you. I thought there was people in the audience that might want to go home early and hear what you had to say, Storm.
It's just chairs, I think, as far as
Okay,
this item goes.
All right, we're gonna hold with you.
But thank you, Roberta.
all right.
All right. Chief,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just want to give the October.
Chief, speak up a little bit so the mic can pick you up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to give you October's report for 2023. For the month, we had 1 accident, no call outs, 3 assists. We had 179 citations and 251 incidents or calls for service. Any questions, concerns?
I have a question, Chief.
Go ahead, Roberta.
Thank you, Mayor. I see you have a sexual assault on the list. Is that happen in our Harper's Ferry town, or did it happen somewhere else?
That was a follow-up, that came in that we're looking into. But it was, an incident that had happened, that we just need to look into. So it went in as that call, so that's what it got all this.
Okay, I hope nothing serious, sir. Sad to see that one on the list. Also, I noticed in the last 3 reports, your parking citations have gone up. Is that because the parking meter technically has expired? So that's why they're getting a ticket?
I'm assuming either they're expired or they hadn't paid.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. You have your report from Kevin Hamilton. If there's any questions or anything, let me know, and then I'll get with Kevin. Anyone from the Park Service here? By the way, Tanya Gossett has departed. She left a week ago Friday. She's obviously back to Maine Interior in Washington. And Ryan Levins is the acting superintendent. Ryan, when he's not the acting superintendent, he is the chief law enforcement specialist for the park. We probably, in talking with Tanya before she left, probably they're looking at getting that filled maybe right after the holidays. And I submitted a letter thanking the Department of Interior for the wonderful job that I felt that Tanya Gossett did in such a short period of time. Patty got that off, I think, about a week or so ago. Okay, where am I? 6J now. Somebody wanted parking committee reporter. Oh.
Okay, as chair of the parking committee, I heard in the last minutes back in September that they didn't know who the chair was. I am the chair of the parking committee. You know, and voted in by my other members. I'm Christian Petropolis, and I'll present the parking report as follows. The draft parking committee charter for the council consideration is still a work in progress. We are finalizing the last section, duties and responsibilities, and hope to have it complete by the December town council meeting. We hope. It is a very long process to do. The Oddfellows Lodge has asked the parking committee to allow free parking on Fillmore Street in front of the lodge. Currently, we have 4 paid parking spaces on that street. We've examined the issue, and we're making a recommendation to not approve paid parking, to not remove paid parking as requested by the Oddfellows. They're great people, but we still want to retain our paid parking there. Rationale: this organization has adequate on-site parking, and their scheduled meetings occur after 6 p.m. when paid parking is not enforced. We suggest the town council write a letter notifying the Oddfellows of that decision unless the town council has a different opinion than ours. Okay. The parking committee wants to present the concept of construction parking / staging of vehicles for the Hilltop Hotel project on weekdays only and for a monthly fee. We are informing the town council that we are going to invite Swan to a future parking committee to discuss whether they are interested. Rationale: we incur virtually zero revenue on weekdays on Store College Street of 8 parking spaces and Fillmore Street in front of the Oddfellows Lodge 4 parking spaces. Then there are no residential properties in either one of these street sections. We're just talking. After an in-depth discussion at the parking committee last Thursday on the definition of a resident, we think this is an issue that the town council should be addressing, as we have no definition for a resident in our ordinances. I feel we need a legal definition for the parking committee and the water department, who need to make business decisions based on whether a person is a resident or not. Some points: we have not fully discussed this issue as a committee. We met at last meeting and we went around and around on this. This is a complex question. I thought it would be easy, but it's not so easy. But in my opinion, we should only give parking windshield stickers to people who live in Harpers Ferry full-time, whether they are a full-time resident or a long-term renter. This resident issue is only a problem when a part-time owner has long-term renters on their property. And we want to keep to 3 stickers per address with no sharing of stickers between an owner and renter. Our current parking policy for residents is vague and fuzzy regarding who's entitled to a windshield parking sticker. We would appreciate the input of the town council as soon as possible, as we're working to complete our 2024 parking policies by early December.
Say that again, Christian. You what?
We're asking that for input from the town council to act as soon as possible, because we're trying to get our parking program completed, all our policies wrapped up. That was our last meeting this last week. We do every fall, we meet and look in all our policies, we make adjustments, changes. And then we get them ready for December, and this is where Melissa comes in with Patty. And gets that out. By the way, in 2023 parking windshield sticker program, we had the highest resident participation of 99 stickers issued. It's the best ever. The parking committee with the town staff is developing strategies to increase our resident participation further. Since September, we have held 3 official parking committee meetings and 2 public workshop meetings for a total of 10 hours of work. Usually we meet this much in 1 year. We're working hard and we're still going to have another meeting shortly because we have to wrap up that issue with the resident definition of the resident. And that's it for the parking.
Questions for Chris?
Yeah, I'm wondering, Christian, if you could write out the issues that you'd like town council to weigh in on. that we could get fairly soon, and then we could place those on the December agenda, maybe? Does that sound like?
You want it on the form, the agenda form as an agenda thing, or do you?
Or
want
just so it's clear exactly what guidance you're looking for on the resident part is pretty clear.
Yeah, I think if you
I'll
gave
get
us a list of questions, I wouldn't mind writing up the agenda request, based upon what I get.
I happen to have an attorney on our committee who might be able to help me. He's really good at crafting things.
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, Chris, good catch on some of that, because yes, I think Chris might be hearing what I'm hearing is Christian, some of your requests may have to go to the ORC. So the sooner you get those requests in to either both the town council and we maybe distribute them, or the town council makes a decision to maybe send some of that information to the ORC. Sounds like you might be asking for code changes or things to be changed in the codes. Also too, in regards to your meeting with Swan, I understand they just purchased the Anvil Restaurant in Bolivar, which has tons of parking spaces in the front and in the back. And wouldn't that be a cool place for them to have a cafeteria type setup for their workers? And maybe all their workers can be parked down at the Anvil Restaurant and bussed up to the work site. Something for thought.
I don't know, we just have this parking just sits here empty all week, and we just saw it as a potential opportunity to make a few dollars. This is Harper Ferry streets, this is not the state streets, these are Harper Ferry streets. And
But
they're
it's also streets of the residents, and the residents deserve quiet enjoyment on their weekend
no
too.
residents live on Store, and no
Okay.
resident lives by the past the hotel, but nothing, there's no residents around these two streets.
And also the streets are the towns and businesses are part of the community.
That's true.
Might water.
And I'm not saying anything's gonna even happen, and if it does happen, we'll run it by y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any other questions? Christian, just, I think Chris had a good,
he did, I
good
get that
idea,
done.
so just follow up with Chris.
Well, we want an answer, so you better believe we're motivated.
Okay. Thank you, Christian.
Okay.
And just one note for Roberta, I hadn't even been thinking of ORC. There might be some things that are required for ordinance changes. We'll have to look at those carefully, but we can do a lot with policy that does not require changes in ordinance. So let's start the easiest way we can.
I agree, resident in particular, that is something that could use better definition.
That's an ORC matter.
All right, let's go to, agenda item 6D, Budget and Finance Committee. Storm, I believe that's yours.
Yes, ping ponging up and down the agenda here. So we are at
the discussion action regarding general fund 24 budget revision 2.
Yes. So indeed, Deb, are you ready for this? So when there are material changes to the town's finances, we are required by the state auditor's office to send in a revision. And there have been such changes, and our finance officer will walk us through it.
So overall, this revision number 2 for fiscal 24 general fund, we represent an increase in revenue of 28,750. That is due to upward trends in your hotel motel revenue as well as parking revenue. Additionally, the construction project vendor for the 340 closure it has requested assistance or did request assistance from the police department for traffic monitoring and paid for that, so that comes in as a contribution from other entities. In the expenses, those increases were offset by the police department wages that needed to be changed according to that additional work that was to be done, as well as some increases in supplies, particularly ammunition costs that have increased in some other areas. And we had to make a slight increase in public safety to take care of that radio increase that we saw when that purchase was made. Appropriate increases in 906 arts and humanities and the visitors bureau are offset by your hotel motel tax. And the audit costs, when it was bid out, actually made a decrease, which was very nice to have. And so that left us a small balance that got distributed between your contingency and general government. So any questions specifically on those items?
So it's fair to say that this is a revision, but it's in balance.
Oh, we always have to be in out.
Yes.
And this is a relatively small revision, but mostly precipitated by that money that came in from the vendor that was not at all represented on our budget, so yeah.
And just one question, in the document, do we need to use the specific language?
Yes, dash, Nina, if you have the resolution,
For the,
revision,
sorry.
that's gonna be for 6D1. If you want, I could read it, but we do need to conduct a roll call, so I could read it and then turn to you for that.
Yeah, can you read it one more time? Let me just make sure I have it right.
I have it.
Okay, great.
Resolved that subject to approval of the state auditor as ex officio chief inspector of public offices, the municipal council does, the town council does hereby direct the budget be revised prior to the expenditure of or obligation of funds for which no appropriation or insufficient appropriation currently exists, as shown on budget revision number 2, a copy of which is entered as part of this record.
Okay, how we're gonna proceed is that I will call the roll, Nina, since you're not here.
Okay.
Might be a little easier this way. So I call your name. Your answer will be either yes, if you approve of the budget revision number 2, or no, if you disapprove. Okay, everybody understand?
There's one little dribble jab
Yeah.
that goes at the end of
Take the
this.
dribble drag.
So we still need.
Yes, the adoption of the foregoing resolution having been moved by Storm, I so move, and seconded by
Chris, Craig, I knew that all along.
the last driven draft is
And then he's gonna call.
the vote there on.
Now I'll call the roll. Roberta Mead Curry,
Yes.
Storm DiCostanzo,
Yes.
George Owen,
Yes.
Chris Craig,
Yes.
Zach Morris.
Yes.
Nina Armstrong,
Yes.
Gregory Vaughn, yes. Resolution passes 7-0, Debbie, and then I'll sign that tomorrow, I guess.
Actually, I need Nina to sign it,
Okay.
so we'll work that out tomorrow, Nina.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Storm, number 2.
Yes, so this is the Merchants Association map brochures. The background is funding had been allocated by town council to the Merchants Association to cover a part of the printing cost for brochure maps that feature Harpers Ferry businesses. They are now asking for these funds to be distributed to them. Notably, going into our decision, we appreciated the association reduced the amount that was originally requested from the town, provided additional information about their funding sources. So I'm going to move to disperse $350 from 402 Economic Development to the Harpers Ferry Bolivar Merchants Association for the printing of brochure maps.
Do I have a second on the motion? We have a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion to approve $350. Zach, I'm sorry.
It's a quick question. I don't know if you've seen any of the brochures or maps they intend to print, but do they equally or equitably show all businesses in town, or are we funding something that might, end up benefiting some businesses and not others?
I distribute them in my personal business and they are, they represent the entire swath from 340 all the way down, and all of those parties are contributing. The JCCB contributes, Bolivar contributes, and the merchants contribute to this printing.
Thank you.
I'll say if there's anyone from the Merchants Association here, Roberta pointed out that it's possible that the old map is still in the case and people looking for Nina's Pizza might be confused.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion passes, Nina, 7-0. Go and walk us through the trash.
You never asked. In fact, Nina was kind enough to do the summary for this. Nina, can you walk us through the trash barrels?
Yeah. Give me one moment. Let me bring it up on my computer. Small computer screen, lots of windows. Okay, so this is for discussion and action regarding funding for the reconditioning of the trash barrels. So we currently have 12 barrels, or like wine barrels, around Lower Town for trash. They're not in the best of shape. There is suspicion that some of them probably have rotted around the bottom. They have not been maintained. So it was looked into sort of what our options are for either replacing those or restoring the ones we currently have. Similar barrels were running about $520. That was the cheapest quote that was found on Etsy for those big wine barrels. However, Eric, who is the head of maintenance at Sunset Hills Vineyard, does barrel restoration work. He has done these trash can wine barrels for them as well. And repairing 11 of the barrels and the possibility of purchasing a new one, if not all can be saved, would be about $250 each. And the work that he would do to refurbish them is pressure wash the entire barrel, remove the top head, replace it with a lid, clean, sand, and reinforce the barrel head to be used as a lid, 5 coats of satin finish, spar polyurethane on both sides of the lid, remove the bottom head entirely for better drainage so that we're not getting that sort of rot issue on the bottom. Sink 1 screw into each stave at the top and bottom of head hoops to retain structural integrity of the barrel after removing both heads. I could read the whole list, but I think it might, everyone can see. Basically, the idea is to restore, to turn the barrels into functioning trash cans, clean them up. If you can see, there's pictures attached of what our current barrels look like if you go to the last page, compared to the refurbished trash can examples that were provided. They're sort of night and day. And with the barrels being refurbished, there is an opportunity for us, for Larry and for the town, to be able to maintain the barrels. We can sand and seal them every 2 to 3 years. That should mean that the lids last around maybe 5 years and the barrels themselves could last maybe 10. So this is a long-term potential investment by repairing the barrels. We could also, however, purchase new ones, but the proposal today is for repairing the ones we currently have.
Question.
Thank you. Just like to add to that this is something that it's part of our public face. It's highly visible. And that the finance officer did look at the budget for beautification, and it does fit within it. And it's something that we can do so that we are presenting our best face to the world. I want to thank Christian Pechakonis for his work on this.
George? Sure, I have some questions for you, Nina. As a person who's been using spar urethane heavily this week, as Greg knows, came into his office, you know it. Are you talking about 5 coats of spar urethane on the lids only, or on the entire body of the barrel?
I believe it's on the entire body of the barrel. I'm not sure if Christian is still in the audience and he could speak to it.
It's the lids.
The lids
The
only.
rest of it will be sanded by Larry to be sealed.
So my question is, one of the rationales for this is the bottoms are rotted. But I'm not hearing the bottoms being treated with a waterproofing material. They're being cleaned, good, you know, but there's nothing to keep the biggest problem.
I think Christian just said they're going to seal them, George.
They'll seal, but the bottoms, they're already holes drilled in them, but they're not. The problem is water gets in the top from rain because they're open in the top. There's no covers. So Larry has to carry it hasn't rained, I know, this year, but in the past, it used to rain in Harpersbury and they would fill up with a lot of water and it was very heavy for him to take them out. There's 12 cans he has to do every day.
That's not my question.
What?
Okay.
And the other is bees. There's a bee problem with
Right.
all the sweet stuff that's in them, it's a
She
safety.
identified the problem, the biggest problem is that they're rotting in the bottom. And the urethane that you're talking about does not address the rotting in the bottom. Okay, if someone has an answer on that.
Well,
That's correct. I agree. At least, what George, I think, is getting at, Christie, and I thought I heard you say they're gonna be sealed.
they're gonna be
Yeah,
sealed,
the
yeah.
yolk part, particularly the bottom, the ceiling the bottom, with the adequate water sealing.
That's something we could.
The problem is, it could be sealed, the top, sure, no ingress at the top, but the sucker's sitting on the pavement. And it's raining,
I'm talking about sealing the bottom,
we're sealing the
the
bottom.
whole thing.
We'll seal the whole thing.
So the entire unit's gonna be urethane, not just the
Yeah.
lids.
A water sealing.
Well, that's what urethane is.
Yeah.
So my question, I
Not five
repeat,
coats.
it says in here, 5 coats on both sides of the lid. Will the bottoms be urethane?
They'll-
Okay, Chris, you got an answer for that?
I think the biggest difference is that the lid is not gonna have a hole in the top, so it's not collecting water. And they're still gonna be using trash bags. So it's gonna eliminate the collection of the water.
That's good, and I got that. Okay, it's just a question of, if we put you out in the rain for a year, your shoes are gonna get wet.
Well,
And I'm just saying, is there something to keep the bottom from rotting from the outside?
but George, they've never,
Have you had a
treated
suggestion
them.
for?
The current barrels, we've never treated,
We've never treated,
never treated
and
them. They're okay.
there is no trouble from the outside in.
It's the top lid we have to worry because the water hits that, sits
Okay.
on it and
Oh, yeah.
can permeate into the wood, and that's why you need 5 coats of sealer on it.
Okay, I wouldn't set something outside, it's wooden.
Yeah.
We know.
So we got our problems.
But,
Any other discussion?
Yeah,
okay,
yes, I have.
I'm sorry,
Can you hear me?
go ahead, Roberta.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think Nina had one of the specifications whereas the bottoms were being removed, which is almost what I would recommend also for something like this, is the bottom be removed so you don't have any more aging and rot on that particular component. But excuse me, let me have the floor. And I assume that instead of just trash bags being put in there, why don't we get a plastic liner, a round tubular plastic trash can, a real trash can that goes inserted in there? Is that what we're doing as well today, or is it just a trash bag sitting in there?
Can I say, because I've emptied the trash,
there you go.
and there's a trash can inside, a metal trash can,
Metal
with plastic inside. The wine barrel's actually a shell.
So there is an insert already.
Yes. It's a trash can with bag in that.
Yes. All right,
I move to recommend, it's the old one. I move that $3,500 be allocated from 906 Arts and Humanities Beautification to hire the services of Eric Fisher for refurbishing our 11 existing trash barrels with wooden lids and purchase an additional barrel with lid if necessary, pending confirmation that the barrel bottoms will be properly properly protected against the weather.
do a second.
And I wasn't finished with my discussion points, but
Second, Chris, discussion on the motion. Roberta.
yes, sir. Thank you. This is a lot of money. And I know we have a lot of other priorities in town, like our leaking water pipes. I don't know if we got a feedback on the succulents that got replaced yet. But, is there another way? Is there a less expensive way, or can we get another couple of bids?
This is the less expensive way. It was investigated what it would cost to get even restored barrels. It was much more with the shipping. That was part of Nina's report. New barrels would be much more than that. And finding an experienced cooper to even do this work is not an easy thing. It will require disassembling the barrel, properly fitting it, putting it back together, that's highly skilled work. So you can't just tap any carpenter to do it. And this is, I believe, a modest cost. It's not one we need to incur every year. Just as we did with the upgrades to the children's park, it's important. These are things that we need to renew our face now and then. It's a big part of who we are.
Any other
And thank you for putting that on the record.
It's also, I believe 13 barrels that we're talking about.
12. There's 11, we have 11, we're missing one.
Okay, so it's, you know, a considerable number. Replacing them with anything similar would be tremendously more expensive.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Roberta, you still have your hand up? Thank you. And I have one discussion item, just a point of information, what has exacerbated this problem with the trash? Took place, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the national park became a trash-free park. That put the entire burden of trash removal, which I may rightfully so say probably belongs on us. But everything, and I know Larry on weekends is probably down there at least twice during the weekend. And his pickup truck is full. I can't begin to tell you how much he pulled out of there. And so
Yeah.
it's a huge issue, we started out in this town with just 4 barrels years ago, 4. And now we are what, 11 or 12, so. I think there's a direct correlation between our visitors and their trash that we're seeing now. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. 7-0 on there. Storm, I'm going to ask all of the committee chairs, and I may say that Christian already made his comment, but I'll ask you, Storm, what is your plan date for the budget and finance charter, or whatever you want to call it? I mean, Christian said you'd like to get it by December for the parking. Is that what you said, Christian? The mission statement or whatever.
Charter.
Whatever.
We hope to have that for your next meeting.
Okay, and so I asked the budget and finance storm, when do you think you may anticipate?
We received no comments, so
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Storm, did you want to comment on your committee report?
Yeah, I'll just hit a couple of the highlights in the interest of time. I did submit a full report. Which you can look at in detail. I'm just gonna tread water until I find it again. Which I've now done. So the biggest one, again, these aren't items that are coming up for vote, but they are material. They're coming, the biggest one being what's happening with the Harpers Ferry Waterworks water distribution upgrades. That's a huge, complicated enchilada where we are looking to complete a $3.3 million WBA grant to upgrade portions of the waterworks water distribution system. The big thing is we need to find the 20% match. It's complicated, but we expect at this point that upgrading some or all the water meters is going to be part of that, as will be leak abatement, that those will help. But we will have a more complete update once the path becomes a little more clear. It's incredibly complex, but we did feel like it was important to apprise town council and the public of it at this time. And then, George had asked about this replacement of the Cobra head fixture on Fillmore Street and related expenses. This may actually be part of the discussion later with the dark sky item, but I'll say in the context of budget and finance, that yes, budget, Potomac Edison has been contacted to obtain an estimate. We just have to go through them, to go through their engineering department. Good news is the legacy radio wave lights we have should not need reconditioning, so that should not be an extra expense. So really it's just getting it through and getting an answer from Potomac Edison on how much it will cost to install the new fixture.
Question.
Yes.
So in our last meeting, we have a 60-day window here for the work to be completed.
Mhm.
Do you have a timeline that you can give us on the radio light fixture being up, the Cobra being down?
I mentioned in that meeting, it was acknowledged that some of these things are outside of our scope, and the key one of that is Potomac Edison. So I am in contact with their person, they're being cooperative and helpful, but it is a process we need to step through, so I cannot give you an exact date when it will be.
Okay, do you have a workflow timeline you can give us?
It's entirely dependent on the engineering department of the
For sure
Potomac
it
Edison.
is. So they haven't, in other words, let me ask you this directly, have they given you any commitments?
They have not at this
They have not at this time.
Correct.
When's the next time you're due to talk to them? You know, we've got 30 days until the 60 days is up. Be nice to try and get, you know, what our meeting, our vote called for to 7-0. So what's your meeting plan with them? What's the plan for success on this?
To continue hectoring them until they give us what we want.
So it's a little bit of hectoring required.
Now, I overstate, but certainly when you're dealing with the utility, you need to be
Okay.
persistent and dynamic.
Do we need to do anything to get their attention?
You can get me a shiny hat and I can go show up at their offices.
Shiny hat.
All right, let's move.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get.
I will get your
this
point.
is with,
I understand.
consistent with humor. So
I understand.
could you give us an update prior to the next meeting?
I can apprise town council when there's movement on this, yes.
I greatly appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Water Department, general report from Steve.
To the end of the table.
So, actually, Mayor, please, the council, Mike Rock is here. I saw that on tonight's agenda, you don't have water commission listed. Typically, the water commission has given a report. Water commission hasn't met until just recently, since I think last July 1st. So Mike is here, so you know, the preview folks, perhaps he could follow me up. I will share that we have the numbers I typically, you know, give you folks. We month of October, we pumped 6.7 million gallons. We sold just under 4 million. We have unaccounted for losses of about 2.6 million, which works out to 39%. Looking back, I was looking back at the last fiscal year, for filling out information for a report to the Public Service Commission annual report that's due. And so from July 2022 to June 2023, the unaccounted for water was 47%. So that, you know, 39% is not great, but it seems to at least be going sort of in the right direction. We had in the month of October, the tanks, the minimum levels in the tanks were at 70%. The maximum level we hit in the tanks was 95%. We averaged about 82% overall in terms of the levels in the tanks. Not bad average, and really a minimum of 70% is, you know, is, I would say, acceptable. We have Elks Run. We ran 10 days in Elks Run in October, 21 days on the Potomac. We're currently still running on the Potomac. We did have an issue this afternoon that we have an electrician coming tomorrow afternoon to take a look at the electricals for the pumps in the Potomac. The pump, we have been using one pump. We had two. We've been using one. And earlier this afternoon, its flow rate dropped from about 375 gallons per minute to somewhere around 250. So that's a concern. I went down to take a look at it. Tried to switch over to the other pump, which we had suspected was maybe not in great shape. And we had issues getting the other pump on. So the electrician will be here tomorrow afternoon, we'll look in and evaluate what our options are there. Chris Steyer, who was here earlier. This evening, he will be looking at blending, seeing if we can set things up to run with the Potomac pump, what it's putting out right now. And the Elks One pump, putting those two flows together. We don't have a whole lot of water in the Elks One, but we would have enough to augment and get us back up to our target rate of 350 gallons per minute. So it's an active situation that we're investigating right now. The tanks this evening, only wrapped up with probably around 75%. So we've got water in the tanks right now, but we have to work this situation. We need to work on flushing out hydrants. We've been testing a few meters, flow testing some of the meters, although there's we've been holding off doing that, anticipating some replacements, but as customers have raised questions and complaints about some of the meters, we are flow testing as we can. And we have a meeting on the 5th of December with actually I think 3 or 4 representatives from the West Virginia Rural Water, who are going to travel 3 or 4 hours to get here, meet with us to help us kick off this copper and lead inventory requirement that is due next October. But it requires us to inventory every single service line for all of our connections. So typically we do surveys, which is like the point. But we have 800 something, to keep between now and October. I think that's it. Working a lot with Deb on, trying to figure out where we can find some money or move money to the right place and all that. But that's what we got. Any questions?
I think questions. Sure, and Mike, welcome. And I don't want to preempt what you have to say. So the questions I have go equally to you as to he. You want to chime in? I was hearing about the results of your meeting, and I got some information, and I wanted to get some more. Okay, I understand that we're taking extensively from the Potomac, and that the pumps, whereas we replaced pumps and a lot of the mechanisms for Elk Run, and we went heavily into debt to do that and all that. We had not updated the pumps for the Potomac.
That's correct.
And that, as you said, there is some issues that electrical doesn't sound as bad as hard, steel and all that, but a decrease of 375 to 250 is a considerable decrease. Do you folks, as your committee commission, see a need for the town council to look into, to anticipate, to study replacement or refurbishing of this Potomac setup? We have, no one I don't think anticipated this 10, 15 years ago, but we're in climate change and we've had a severe drought. Who knows what the future holds? And this is,
So
yeah, there we go. Thank you.
I'll let Mike speak to the committee. Okay.
Okay.
The commission's responsibility is to the council.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll let Mike, kind of address this. I did apprise the commission, which Mike can fill us in on all that, but I apprised them of the fact that we have been, and we are concerned about the Potomac pumps. We turned everything on thinking that it was going to run for a week, 2 weeks. It's running for considerably more than that. At the same time, the background, as I explained to the commission, was that the town was faced with, not only were they faced with having to remove all the distribution work, okay, but because the grant, the loan that they received, because of the delays due to circumstances outside the town's control at the time, not only did they have to make decisions on cut out the distribution market, but there were aspects that I would assume were part of the plant. I know that, for example, that there was a UV treatment part of that plan that I've seen has been removed, was removed from, it's not in the plan, so it wasn't done. I know there were other decisions that had to be made about how to, get the costs down to something that the town could afford, the money they paid. And one of the things that I only assumed was part of all that was to really look at, the Potomac pumping option. Because in large part, the pumping option had not been used, or certainly has never and I shouldn't say never, I don't know, but I would expect that it has not been used to this extent ever. Okay, and so those are just decisions that were made at the time. Right now we're faced with getting them, and we're working on how to get by with what we have, and we've been gathering information on what it would take to what a solution of what it had forward like.
Steve, do you want to get to the Bolivar rep now before Mike, or you want Mike to go?
I'll let.
It's up to you, Steve.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, I will. I'm gonna introduce, because of my role on the Bolivar Council. I will introduce Joseph Elster. Okay. And so Bolivar has been advertising for this few months the open position on the Harpers Ferry Water Commission, an individual who would represent the commission. Your ordinance states that it shall be there shall be one resident of Bolivar. Joseph is. He is also he's put his name forward as someone who's interested in filling that position. He is a customer of the waterworks. I have it right since at least 2018. Yes, sir. For a number of years. He lives over on Park Ave in Bolivar. And so his name came before the Bolivar Town Council in our last meeting last week. And by a unanimous vote there, the Bolivar Town Council voted to put his name forward to this body for consideration for that position. It's not up to Bolivar to seat him on your commission. Bolivar puts the name forward, and you folks can basically vote him up or down. Okay, so with that, I'll kind of that introduction about give the floor to Mike, because now we're kind of into commission stuff, and I think that
we need to.
We need to vote on.
Yeah.
I nominate Joseph Hauser to fill the Bolivar seat on the Water Commission.
We have a second from George.
No second, I think it's just a.
Oh, that's right.
Needed roll call. Oh, that's right.
No second, right.
Roll call. My bad.
Pardon me.
My bad. So I'll call roll to approve the Bolivar representative, because I call your name. If you agree, your answer is yes. If you disagree, it's no. Let's storm it.
Yes.
Yes, George.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Roberta.
Yes.
Thank you. Nina.
Yes.
Greg votes yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph, thank you for putting up with 3 hours. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask just one question? I apologize. When do I go to this first meeting?
Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah. Welcome aboard. We need you.
We just want to make sure that you're going into this not for the fame and the fortune.
Yeah, it is for neither.
You haven't run away yet, so.
I want to inform the people of Boulevard what's going on with our water. That's the biggest.
Well, thank you.
So appreciate your work.
Yeah. the endorsement or something else.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, I got the floor, so real quick, I know we're running a little bit.
I've got really one issue, and that is staffing the water commission. We now have 2 long-run staff and we have 2 temporary staff. And in my view, temporary staff is more bad than good. I would rather have no one than have temporary staff. Why? The water problems are long-run problems. They're not short-run problems. And you can't get someone up to speed and sustain on a long-run problem if they're only there for a couple of months. I'll give you an example. One of the things we're supposed to do at the next meeting is a close financial look, and Deb's preparing that. And does it make sense to do that when one member of the commission who's a temporary person might be going off? That just seems like a waste of Deb's time. It's also a waste of Steve's time. What happens when new people come on? I remember this when I came on. I asked a ton of questions. And it eats up a lot of water commission time. And what it does is it takes away from the work that Steve has to do, and it takes away from the work that Deb has to do. And it also makes it almost impossible for the water commission to develop a long-run strategy, a long-run position. What's its role? How can it help Steve and Deb? And you can't do that with a rotating view of members. So I would ask that you not appoint anyone temporary. You let the temporary people go off the committee. And if we can't find permanent people, maybe the committee should go into abeyance for a while until we can. Because I think temporary folks do more damage than good.
Thank you, Mike. And I think everyone around the table and probably sitting in here share part of that sentiment or all of it. We have a very, very difficult time recruiting people. I do appreciate very much Wayne and Kim Wheatley stepping up, trying to do something, but I guess their schedule didn't, wouldn't require them to do it full time or whatever. But it is a very difficult job trying to get out of 265 people that we have to step up to the plate and be a full time. Now, what I'm going to ask this council to do is to knock on some doors, is to, approach people. I know we've done it before. I know Patty had a hard time filling the Parks and Rec Commission with people. I mean, I think at one time it was just Patty and Zach that were on there. I mean, that's not the way to run a ship.
No.
And I think we all have empathy for your position. And so I'll ask the council, if you know of someone even remotely interested, approach them just like we have the new person. And that's probably what Steve did. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but maybe that's what Steve did, or somebody in Bolivar reached out to bring somebody on. But we've got to take this on because your commission, Mike, is an important entity, particularly with what's going on now, and particularly with copper and lead and the PFAS issues that we're going to be confronting. So I appreciate that. I totally endorse what you're saying, and that's not a degradation of Wayne or Ken. That's not the issue.
That's correct.
The issue is we need ongoing people to support fine work that you're trying to do with just you and Steve. So I appreciate that. So council, you've got your charge. Sure, reach out, George.
Before you swivel up there, Steve mentioned that, you could be the person to answer questions about how urgent our need is for the Potomac pumps. Are we facing a potential crisis? Is it possible for you guys to give a risk assessment year by year of failure? Because now previously it was mentioned that you didn't blend. Now this is the first time I've heard that you were seeking to blend, or you have blended Elks Run and the Potomac. Previously it was you weren't set up to blend. And if we're depending on the Potomac and the Potomac pumps fail, then we have a problem here in town. We don't have water.
Yeah, but
Do you have a sense of the urgency? And the other question is, do you have a sense of the cost we're looking at? Because we spend money in this council on a variety of things, and one thing we need is sure we have water. Right, that's for sure.
So, in terms of year by year, well, year by year doesn't really help because we haven't used the Potomac pumps for years. So we don't have that to fall back on. In terms of this current situation, yeah, this is a critical situation. That's what I brought to the commission is that, if those pumps fail and they're old pumps, we didn't put any money into them we haven't put any money into them for years. And so I brought that to the commission. I said, this is something that's hanging out there. I've got a electrician contact that got for me, who I've spoken to this afternoon. We did not blend in the past because the Potomac pumps are not designed, they go back years and they're not designed to be speed controlled. Okay, so you turn them on, it's binary. You turn them on, they run it, whatever they give you, or you turn them on, you get 0. Okay, the plant is designed, all the new equipment, all the new pumps have speed controls, and you're matching the flow through the plant. So with the Potomac pumps, they were giving us, the one that we were using was giving us more than what we typically run at. So there was no reason to blend. We couldn't blend because you can't blend negative, right? Can't take away by adding another pump. So blending just wasn't an issue. Now with the pump that we're running, all of a sudden falling off, now we're looking at, can we make up the difference by blending? Okay, so we're not blending for quality of water, we're blending just to try to get quantity of water before that pump, degrades more. Okay. So that's what we're doing, and we don't have enough water in the Elks Run to run totally on Elks Run, right? That we're still in a drought. Okay, so we're trying to at this point draw water from both places to make what we can.
So
Can I interject? So Steve has an appointment with an electrician tomorrow who is going to assess the situation. We don't know anything until we learn something from this person and his company. It is very likely that a remedy might be quick and snappy. It might also cost a significant amount of money. We can certainly follow up after, informing the council after that, and certainly if the expense required is of such a level that is over the parameters that we've set up in our purchasing process, the mayor will be in contact with the council and saying, this is an emergency situation. We are authorizing this to happen. And so I would expect that tomorrow afternoon or the following day, some sort of remedy is going to come from this electrician visiting to inform where we are. Is that a fair?
Yeah.
And can I just add to that? That's great. I'm glad we got that quick news. If we can also, your departments come up with a figure of not just a remedy for what our immediate problem is, but to avoid some unforeseen catastrophic shutdown.
I think
we have to figure out whether or not the pumps are fixable.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
that's
It'll take some time.
And that's.
And either they will or there won't be.
Thank you, Mike. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to say, I think what you're trying to get at, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
You want a general maintenance budget. You want to know what the annual cost of fixing pumps,
Actually, no. I'm just looking to see if this council here, if we are facing perhaps a catastrophically high expense.
Okay.
If we're looking at all of a sudden, Steve comes in and says, we need 1.1 million.
No.
We need $500,000.
All right, so, okay, all right, just to give you an idea of scale and scope, okay?
Thank you.
And I'm a little bit, uneasy to really give you a hard number because we really haven't investigated that much. I did talk to folks from Martinsburg that rebuild these pumps, and I talked to them about rebuilding the two pumps, and a single speed controller. That we would switch from one pump to the other if we had to. And that was, on the order of, I'm gonna say $5,000 to $7,000. That does not include an enclosure because all this equipment, especially the speed controller, is sitting out in the banks of the Potomac. It's not back in the plant. Right, so I don't have prices to really do it all, kind of right. But I figured that, in an emergency situation, if I have to pull a pump out, have that rewound or, rewired, and then swap out the other one, chances are that's gonna be in the $5,000 range. All right, ideally, I'd like the speed controller so that I can really integrate it into the rest of the plant. But again, that's not an emergency. And when I was getting those numbers, I wasn't faced with, the situation that I have as of this afternoon.
Right.
Okay, so that was bringing the idea to the water commission, said that, it would be prudent to me to bring that back to them and then for them to look at that and bring that to, the town body.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'll just also add that we have what's called a renew and replace fund. I just found out about this after working hours, but I will be checking tomorrow to see if this type of work is viable to be used for that, and I believe that it is.
And this is tied up in that other complex ball of wax that is the distribution system and all the other deferred maintenance. Steve, I'm very glad that you are on the job on this. It is a lot of.
Chris.
I just wanted to mention on the water commission, 901 is the ordinance and, we need 3 for a quorum. One more person could be outside, of Harper's Ferry, the corporation of Harper's Ferry. They need to be a resident of the.
They actually, I believe your ordinance states that they can't be Harper's Ferry or Bolivar. They have to be the council,
Yeah, the
which is
council.
a very small little,
Cavalier Heights and Bolivar Heights.
We did have a county member from the county health department. And he resigned
He was
because.
Bolivar. He was Bolivar. But the fellow though who was president before Laurel lived up on a bill. He lived up on Bolivar Heights. Unfortunately, that's a very small, so
And
you folks
Cavalier
might
Heights as
want to
well.
look at the ordinance and broadening that position to be someone other than Harper's Ferry, which would then open it up to Bolivar as well. But that's something to consider if you can't fill that position with, it's either Cavalier Heights or it's Bolivar Heights, and there aren't that many customers in that region.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Parks and Rec. By the way, it's 9:10, and we're now halfway through our agenda.
Thanks.
Thank you, I got to find stuff. Much later. So the Parks and Rec Commission would like to express our sincere thanks once again to the town council for the assistance in moving forward with the purchase of a play structure for the children's park. We don't have a delivery date yet or an installation date yet, but we're anticipating that the structure will be in place this spring, so it's very exciting news. So thank you again for helping us with that project. Fall is a very busy time for Parks and Rec. We hosted the annual Art in the Park activity on Saturday, October 28th. We had approximately 30 children and adults who took part in painting pumpkins and making a craft. The craft this year, we created paper lanterns to coincide with Oliver's Lake Parade. So it was pretty fun, and the kids really enjoyed making the craft. The prototype took 3 hours. Kids knocked it out in 15. So it was a lot of fun. Halloween, we had over 30 children stop by the park for a treat. It came in waves, and then it went, and it came, and then it went. So, but it was good. We had over 30 kids. And finally, but certainly not least of all, we held the second annual pumpkin roll contest on November 4th. We had 51 people, both young and younger, register to roll the pumpkins down Columbia Street. 9 children and 10 adults made it to the finals. Local merchants provided prizes for first, second, and third place winners, who also walked away with the coveted gold medal that was presented to them by the mayor. The event brought in proceeds of just a little over $400, which will be donated to the Children's Park project. And just to give you guys a heads up, is $37 more than last year.
All right.
So it takes a little bit, but we're getting
That even beats inflation.
back moving. So we are looking forward to some exciting new events or events to mention coming forward. The Christmas tree will be lit at the gazebo on Wednesday, November 29th at 7 p.m. We traditionally light this tree just prior to the start of Old Time Christmas, so that when visitors come into town, they'll see our trees lit. So mark your calendars and enjoy your neighbors too for this fun event. And I'll take a moment to pitch Old Time Christmas, because unfortunately that's not on the agenda anywhere. But Old Time Christmas does start the first 2 weekends in December. And so hopefully, I don't think the detour is gonna hinder them. Contacting them to get some more promotion so we can help present that. But there's been no talk around about Old Time Christmas. I want to bring it up. We are also going to bring back the cookie walk this year. We have not done that since COVID. And I reached out and sent out many emails, and I am very pleased to let you know that I have a lot of people who reached out and said, I will provide cookies for you. So that event is going to take place on Saturday, December 9th. It's going to be held here at the town hall. More details are forthcoming. We haven't selected the time yet because I confirmed the parade. The Christmas parade, it doesn't start till 4 o'clock this year. So, you know, we tried to coincide with them, but we have to decide what time we're going to walk. So more details forthcoming on that. And also Parks and Rec is in the stages of planning a film festival, possibly late March. And we've actually picked up some momentum, and we've received our first interested party who would like to share the film. And there's a second one in the wings. So as we get some more information, we'll keep you apprised of that as well. That's our report.
Any questions for Patty? Thank you, Patty, appreciate it. Historic Landmarks Commission, George.
We didn't have a meeting.
No meeting. Okay.
We're looking forward to getting back to that. And I do understand that we have a vacancy to fill and a letter of interest. May I make a nomination at this
Well,
time?
before you make a nomination, I do want to pass something around, and we can go forward with the nomination as I think how you want to go with it. But I think you may find this interesting, and I will read it for you, Nina and Roberta. I haven't had a chance to send it out. Okay, this is the first line of the first thing I'm going to read, Roberta and Nina, is Harper's Ferry's ordinance on selecting and filling vacancies on the Historic Landmarks Commission. This is our ordinance, and it states, quote, all members shall be residents of the Corporation of Harper's Ferry and shall be nominated and confirmed by town council, unquote. Now, council, if you would turn to the last page, this is from state code. State code 826A-4. This talks about municipal historic landmarks commissions. To consist of 5 members appointed by the mayor or county commission, as the case may be. We have a discrepancy between state code, municipal code.
Yeah.
And when you have a discrepancy between state code and municipal code, state code prevails.
Right.
So I just bring this to your attention. Go ahead, George, you got the floor.
Well, per agenda item, we don't second this, right? I make a motion to nominate. Is that how we did it with the water commission?
If you intend to make a nomination.
I intend to make a nomination. We have a letter of interest from Elaine Bishop, also known as Elaine Adele, to be on the Historic Landmarks Commission.
I believe the motion is out of order.
Pardon?
I believe it is out of
I
order.
didn't say it correctly.
No, for the legal issue. The conflict with state code.
Point of information.
Sure.
I just did a quick Google, state code 826A-4. And if you read one more paragraph down, and I'm not a legal expert here, but it does also state that in any such ordinance or order, the governing body shall include provisions for specifying the terms of members and the method of filling vacancies. So the state code contradicts itself.
So it defers to the local body.
That first line says it's to be appointed by the mayor and county commission pretty clearly, but then later it does state that in the establishment of an ordinance that the municipality can select a method of filling vacancies. So I don't know which prevails in this case. Since I would hesitate to. I don't know, I hesitate to go against either.
Right, but you know, my point in bringing this whole thing up was the fact that the ordinance review committee was asked to come up with a consistent method of nominating and selecting personnel. And this just makes my point, how confusing and how much discrepancy we have in our code regarding appointing and selecting. And George, one way or the other, I was going to select or appoint Elaine to it because I think that she would be a great addition to this certain historic landmarks commission. And that's why when I opened this up, I said, I read it, and then I said, you know, you can do with this what you want, but this is basically what I came up with, and it makes my point. So I'm not, you know, I'm not hung up on one way or the other. I was aware of what Zach read, but I interpreted it just a little bit different on that. But anyway, this is where we're at. And either way,
yeah,
you're going to appoint or this council's going to appoint.
As a side, we moved off to the side into this discussion. The ambiguity is not in what we would be talking about, Chris, in ORC, our local code. The ambiguity exists in the state code, and perhaps as a remedy to what he's talking about, we should talk to the state. But our efforts are concerning our administrative code, and this is our code, at least, is unambiguous in this commission. So I mean, you've made a point of order, none out of order. Thank you. The mayor seems to believe we're in a limbo land. I'd like to restate my request to.
Sure, and then if that goes, then I will appoint.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Elaine Bishop, the historic landmarks.
Elaine Adele.
Adele.
I'll second that motion.
All right, there's no
second
required. So I just will call roll. If you agree with Elaine Adele being appointed to the Landmarks Commission, you'll say yes. If you disagree, you'll say no. Roberta Meade Curry.
Yes.
Storm.
No.
George.
Yes.
Chris.
By this vote, am I weighing in on which I agree with, which method, or?
Just vote on the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Zach.
Yes.
Nina.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Now I will appoint Elaine Adele to the historic landmark. All right, so we're going on to the next agenda.
Point of information, Greg.
Sure.
When I was put on historic landmarks, did you guys vote on me or did you appoint me?
I don't remember.
I don't even.
No, I don't remember. Patty, do you remember?
It was all voted.
No, do you remember? Point of service for Elaine.
I can look it up.
Yeah, make sure that, and
I'll
Nina,
get to
if you would get with Patty. And Patty will give the service time for Elaine, and then please inform Elaine like you did with Kim Wheatley.
It was to replace
That's what Patty's gonna check on.
I'll check it.
left vacant by Van Vliet.
Is that correct?
Yeah. All right, planning commission, Jack, your ball.
Okay, all right. Still looking at state code there,
You got my heart.
no, I need to jump from one to the other. One second. Update on the 2023 comprehensive plan is Robo. We've been meeting with the WU consultant, as most of you may know. Over the summer, we had both an in-person workshop, an open house where members of the public came and gave input on the 2023 comprehensive plan. We also had an online survey. The consultant has sort of synthesized those results. And we are looking at crafting a 2023 comprehensive plan that both brings in the greatest hits from the 2020 or 2013 comprehensive plan, but sort of reorganizes it into the accepted standard and format, which will include a series of focus areas and then specific issues or concerns within those focus areas. And we have a moment to draft. We have 7 draft focus areas right now, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. But those, what we're looking at, include historic preservation, land use and conservation of natural resources, infrastructure, parks and recreation, transportation, community involvement, and economic development. Again, based on the results of those public input, those seem to be the 7 main themes that we'll work with and pull from the previous plan to support it. That was all I was going to say, except that planning will have a meeting, a regular meeting next week. It's looking like we may push discussion of the comprehensive plan to its own special meeting, so it gets the attention it deserves. When I have a date for that, I'll let everyone know.
Discussion action on road surface.
Got it. So we're bringing it. I don't know if
Roberta.
Yes,
we thought you had your hand up. Did you have
I'm sorry, that was for the last vote.
Okay, that was me. Sounds good. I wanted to include this one on here. I think it was back in September. Planning Commission presented a map of road surface issues in town. And I just didn't want that to fall off the radar. I don't know. I don't think at that meeting it was a little hard for me to hear on the remote connection if next steps were established, but if there's a way to sort of move that into the realm of budget and finance to start considering. I think our window, if we wanted to get those repairs done before the winter season hits, is closing. But something to look at potentially for spring as we do budget.
Yeah, I would say if it's good with the mayor, if you can draw the list.
Yep.
And then, you know, we have to figure out what the bid process would be in all this.
Okay. And put that to budget and finance position or?
Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because I think we have, Debbie, do we not have water resurfacing to be contracted?
That for fiscal 24 has been executed already. We did that in July. So we'll be planning for that to occur in July of next year, July or August of next year. So we could potentially tie them together, but their thinking is that they're gonna do whatever little patchwork they can do as they make repairs, and then once a year, we're gonna come through and make it nice. Yeah.
All right, so Storm, I think probably for this before we get a finance, and maybe if Zach has time, he can come in and sit down with you guys.
Sure.
Sure. Go ahead, Zach.
The last one that we had. So, yeah, this one, I think we're gonna end up maybe postponing this. I want to briefly thank Nina. She helped me go through the physical copies of town minutes the last few years. That was at the last meeting we'd established that Roberta and I would do a bit of research to see what, if any, action there has been on these topics. I didn't see anything in the last 5 years in terms of council agenda items. Roberta has additional information I didn't have at the time I submitted this agenda item. So I think the best course of action probably just to postpone this to the December meeting so that we can continue to follow up.
Roberta.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if you wanted me to update you on that information, but if you want to postpone it, that's fine.
When she asks me?
If she wants to get that
Yeah.
information.
And I also have information I can supply you with about the past 2 years.
Yeah, if you want to do that now or offline,
Yeah, it sounds like it's a larger.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you hear that, Roberta?
No, if you can repeat that, please.
Yeah, as I understand it, Storm's got some information to pass on to Zach, so asking you to do the same thing.
Yes, I already have, but I was gonna bring it up if we were gonna discuss it.
Okay, thanks. Chris?
On this issue, I've been thinking about it, that if we are such a little piece of geography. And I think this would be a wonderful topic to find some kind of formal cooperation with our neighbors in Bolivar. Yeah, something, you know, like we joined together on other things, including Canal Town's partnership and so as we get things reactivated and all, I don't know how that works and if it's gonna involve ordinance changes or just you know, forming a new committee or something, but I think that's something to think about.
My broad suggestion, not to get into the details of it, it might look more like what stormwater looks like. It may not be a formal committee, but it's a body that can help develop policy, swing it to whatever parts of the town are necessary, especially if it's gonna also coordinate with other jurisdictions with the park, that might give it more fluidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach?
I will say this will be incorporated into the 2023 comprehensive plan, and it sounds like it's something, the establishment of some type of dark sky preservation ordinance seems to have broad support across the board. So I think the most important part is moving towards that type of, you know, environmental preservation. And the method by which we do it is important, but I think we can figure that out over the course of the next month. And maybe bring a draft ordinance at some point soon.
Okay, thanks, Zach, appreciate it. Roberta, ORC report?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. This is the ORC report number 3 for this evening. And again, I did issue this to all town council members today, so I'll just be briefly. There are some repeat items here that we're still working on, but some of the newer items that were presented in front of ORC this past month was from the BZA, where we're working on a definition for permanent structure versus non-permanent structure. And then we're continuing the work on the definitions for, goodness gracious, what is that for? Short-term rentals. And then your request, Mayor, yes, we already started some deep dive on the article revisions for the nomination appointments and etc. And we are actually going to have a meeting hopefully this month when I get back. Apologize for delaying some of this because of my issues, but should be back and have another meeting hopefully this month where we're going to have a major workshop on those particular items regarding nominations and appointments. That's it for now.
Storm?
Hey, Roberta, thank you for the report. So I see on item C and D, it says where the request came from. On item D, where did the request come from?
Receive requests, definitions, rules, regulations. That was presented by George Owens and also Pat Morris.
Okay, so not by a town body.
No, that came in from Pat Morris and G. Owens, George Owens.
Great, thanks.
Thanks. Roberta, do you have an update on the charter for ORC about when that will be brought before the council?
I believe that's in Storm's hands. We did give the ORC mission statement at the last town council meeting, along with I think the IOC's mission statement. And I think the town council requested a review time for that. And we are waiting for the town council to get back to the chair of the ad hoc committee.
Okay, so I just want to make sure somebody else is kicking the can, right?
Well, we've been,
right,
like it had been said, there might
You're waiting
be
for
additional input.
Right.
So if there's not, then we're done here,
Okay.
and it can come forward.
That's all I want. Okay, thanks, Roberta.
All right, thank you.
I think Nina
Yeah,
Oh.
we were not able to meet this month, so I had requested that we postpone this for next month's agenda.
Thanks, Nina. Storm, you want to take a, 7B?
Yes, so there is here at this late hour, a material update to the stormwater plan. Hang on.
I have a hard copy here if you want to.
No, I've got it here. There we go. All right. So the big news, well, I think everyone in this room, and it's on public record, has seen the preamble to this, but I'm just gonna rip through it pretty quickly. So slide 2, that our current infrastructure where it exists at all is generally in a state of disrepair. Slide 3, that the comprehensive plan does, and I imagine it will continue to see the value of managing stormwater, particularly in reducing the speed and amount of it. Not simply streaming it straight out to the rivers. Next slide. Just points out the importance of working with our neighbors, Bolivar in particular, and of course, the park itself, which is within Harpers Ferry, but they control that property. And working together is key to solving all of our stormwater issues. Next slide. And here's the update part. So in 2021, the mayor had flagged that there was a new stormwater specialist. So we worked with Region 9 and Bolivar to devise an overall 3-step plan informed by the town and Region 9's prior efforts. We have now completed what I'm calling the general plan. That's not its official title. It's much longer, but for the sake of discussion, I will be referring to it as the general plan. And it was delivered to us in October and presented on November 3rd to the Planning Commission for input, which was fantastic. And the next step is going to be to use that general plan as a guide and framework to identify stormwater projects to pursue in the short, mid, and long term. Next slide. So this general plan, when I say what it's not, it is not what must happen, what is going to happen. It is guidance that is tailored to us and to Bolivar on how to incorporate green infrastructure, best management practices into our broader storm water management system, which will include perhaps improving what's here, replacing some other things for our next steps. So it is a general guide that highlights the core needs. It presents a menu of stormwater solutions that are suitable for different locations. So when you look through this general plan, you might see something that's in Bolivar. It doesn't mean it can only be in Bolivar, or if you see something in Harpers Ferry, it doesn't mean it has to be in Harpers Ferry. So do not take it as etched in stone. Some projects will require coordination with other jurisdictions or entities, might be Bolivar, Park, or any of the other 12 jurisdictions that cross ours. And project costs that you see in that general plan are very loose estimates meant to give a sense of scale. So they're absolutely not meant to be price tags. But just so we know what we are dealing with when we're talking about trying to get these done. Next slide. So key considerations for this engineering plan development stage, and that's what this is. So we have this general plan. Now we're going to figure out what we need and want to have done with engineering plans so that we can construct these things. And it's important to view them and into how they fit into the system on the whole. Some of these projects will be large, some will be small, but the game is to try to capture water in place. So I discussed with planning, and we had a nice discussion about how we might do this kind of triage and look at things that are critical, that might be larger, that smaller things will hang off of, others that can be standalone. So that is going to be an ongoing process to identify those. Next slide. I'm not going to go over this, but this isn't all of the dimensions that you need to keep in mind. Everything from what will the effect of these projects be, of course, their cost, how can it be funded, will there be matching, what's the scale and scope, how complex it is, how much coordination, and that's going to influence what we are going to tackle in the short, mid, and long terms, and what might not be realistic for many years, considering we're still solving the issue with our waterworks. Next slide. I did want to point out a huge so many things that we would want to do rely on having basically a central trunk. Currently, our main channel for diverting water is Washington Street. There are spots where it runs along the side, where there isn't even, there's things that are clogged up in other areas where it's going down the street. And that is absolutely going to be our highest price tag. The number they had in there, not to scare you, is $3 million. It's a big enchilada. But it is critical that a lot of these smaller projects, if you don't have that, there's nothing you can do. It won't be as effective because it might trap some of the water, but not all of it. That water still has to go somewhere. You're still gonna have water down Washington Street. So I wanted to point that out, not sugarcoating. Next slide. So this is just highlighting that some elements can be standalone. Maybe we discussed that in planning. There might not be, and that's one of the first assignments is to see if there are some low-hanging fruit opportunities that we can put something in. It may not have a huge effect, but it can demonstrate to the community the value of green infrastructure and at least give us a nibble even as we work on the big stuff. Next slide. The good news is there are a lot of grant opportunities out there, in particular the Chesapeake Bay Trust, some of whose grants do not require matching. And in particular, they do have a grant that is good for engineering. Its deadline is December 6th. I do not know if we're going to have time to make this year's cycle because we still need to identify what the project will be. I am in contact with the specialist there to see if we can squeak in under the wire with something to take a shot at Washington Street is what I'd like to do. And I think they have up to $100,000 for grants that they can commit for engineering projects. Don't know if that would be enough to engineer what we have in mind for the trunk on Washington Street, but it's worth a shot. And then the last slide is just emphasizing that it's going to be a long-term process. It's going to take an awful lot of coordination and it's not going to get done at once. But we have achieved the first step, which is huge. And the plan that we have and it is available to the public now. It's very encouraging and it is building on work that we've done in the past. So that is the update on stormwater.
Thanks, Storm. Any questions for Storm?
Has the park signified any, because I know that some of the projects were really involved with the park or on park property, have they indicated any prioritization of specific projects there or?
So I will be reaching back out to them now that we've done our internal discussion about it. Because when we were having the meetings before, they did say they had some funds for stormwater. And absolutely, there are a number of projects in this general plan that are either entirely on park property or cross with ours. And that's great for us. If it's on park property, so much of what is being cast off of Camp Hill is coming off the park. So absolutely coordinating with them in particular is as important, if not more important, just because of the amount of geography as coordinating with all of it.
Any other questions? Storm, it's just too bad we didn't have more people here this evening to hear this presentation.
Oh no, I get nervous of the crowds. Yeah.
Okay, last agenda item, I can cover this real quick. Discussion action regarding modifying Article 130 to consider adding specificity to the ordinance. Council, as you may recall, on Article 130 is dealing with uniform removal of members of commissions, committees, and boards. We looked into this issue recently with our attorney. And we are aware of the issues that were involved in the non-specificity of this ordinance. I can tell you that this ordinance was put into effect when I was on council back in 2014, I think, or 2015. Solely for the reason that we had members of the Planning Commission, Landmarks Commission, BZA who were not attending meetings. They just did not come to meetings. And there were so many of the meetings back then that they couldn't get a quorum. So it was decided to put something together. That's why it was put together. the principal reason. We know the difficulties that this posed with this governing body. I am requesting that the town council consider having ORC review ordinance 130 and add specificity to removal actions and sanctions or whatever against those serving on commissions, committees, and boards for the town of Parkersburg.
I move to commit to ordinance review committee. Revision of article 130 to add additional specificity.
Or second from Chris, discussion on the motion, Roberta?
Discussion? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Roberta.
Okay, can you be, at this point, can you be a little bit more specific on what specifics you're looking for?
I can do that privately, Roberta.
Okay, all right, and then
You and I-
sanctions, you're looking at fines.
When you get back in town, why don't you, or give me a call or whatever, and then I can discuss some issues. I don't want to do it in the clear.
Okay, how about if you come to our next ORC meeting when I have it? Would that be
Sure.
good?
Be
Okay,
glad.
great. Great, thanks.
Zach,
Are there any state level codes that we should be referencing since that is
yeah, that's what I'm gonna ask ORC to do. Yeah. And I've looked at other jurisdictions, by the way, and none of them have, I couldn't find any of that had on how to remove. And so we've got to have that protective device in our ordinances. Any other discussion? Good points, Zach. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Looks like 7-0, Nina. A motion to adjourn. I believe George, motion to adjourn.
I second.
And George seconded it, and Chris voted to, no, I mean, Chris made a motion to adjourn. George seconded it. All those in favor to adjourn, we are
Aye.
at
Aye.
9:46.